Big story this morning. Former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin waking up in jail this morning after being found guilty on all charges in the death of George Floyd. The people closest to George Floyd joined the community in celebrating Chauvin's conviction, the family calling it, quote, a little bit of relief.
This brings a little bit of relief to know that the system is going to at least try and make some amends in one case, but like we said, this is only one case. There is so much more work to do. We need to reopen cases. We need to re-examine those that have not been served. We need to bring justice to everyone.
This is a stepping stone. This is the beginning. This is not the say all end all. So we still got some more work to do, and I believe that's my purpose, to make sure that you know, that bill get passed, that you know, my children are good, my children's children are good, you know, and they have a better future and and can look back on this history and say, wow, my dad, my grandfather, my great-grandfather was a part of that.
Nothing can ever bring their brother or their father back. But this can be a giant step forward in the march toward justice in America. Let's also be clear that such a verdict is also much too rare. For so many people, it seems like it took a unique and extraordinary convergence of factors.
Yeah, that really is true, isn't it? Derek Chauvin faces up to 40 years in prison when sentenced 8 weeks from now. His attorneys do plan to appeal. But boy, this was a big moment, I know, for many. And I know that for many, Josh, who I've talked to in the black community, you weren't sure that this was actually going to end in a conviction, because it hasn't happened that way in many cases in the past. So this really was very significant.
Yeah, Dina, you just alluded to that point, and President Joe Biden alluded to that point as well. It was extreme, unique circumstances to where I feel without that video, we may have seen a repeat of history. So when you look at the conviction, we are all grateful for what happened yesterday, the decisions that were made by the jury. But for me, I'm not calling it justice. For me, I'm calling it undeniable accountability, because that video, we saw across this country, across this world. Therefore, it's a step in the right direction, but a lot more work needs to be done.
Josh, I think you raise a great point, because the press release that the Minneapolis Police Department put out after the death, the murder of George Floyd, did not jive with the video that we saw. And the video was worth 1,000 words in this instance, and you wonder what would happen without that video. You don't even want to think about it, but nonetheless, one of the things about this whole thing that really raised eyebrows, I think, for me, for a lot of people as well, is we always talk about good cops. Good cops don't want bad cops in their operation. You know, I think of Chief Craig. Chief Craig came out the next day and said that is not policing.
He called it murder.
That is a murderous act. And I think if you watch that trial at all, you saw officers, you saw superiors say that is not what we teach. That is not good policing. They don't want bad cops in their operation. And I think that murder of George Floyd is a turning point in that aspect as well. So a lot of eyes were opened, and ultimately the jury came back unanimous, and I don't know anybody that saw that video that thought otherwise.
Yeah, it was an eye-opener for many people, but for people who look like me, it's something that has been preached time and time again, and unfortunately it took these extreme circumstances for the world to see what has been going on and what needs to be done going forward. And we're not always going to have this kind of video, and that's the real question. What happens next time when you don't have this very descriptive video showcasing exactly what went down? That's really the question moving forward. Let's talk about the video, though, guys. The teen who captured that video of George Floyd's death, of his murder,
She's being praised this morning. Darnella Frazier is a Minneapolis high school senior, and last May, she was 17 years old when she recorded cell phone video and she uploaded it to Facebook, where it was watched by millions around the world. And she was among the first witnesses to testify by the prosecution in the trial, and she tweeted her reaction to the verdict, saying, quote, "George Floyd, we did it. Justice has been served." Now, Frazier was taking her cousin to get some snacks when she witnessed what was happening. Many people say her actions are encouraging others to not just be a bystander. And you wonder, what would you do as a high school girl in that situation, watching this tragedy before your eyes? And she recorded it and may have changed history, right?
Dina, I could not agree more with what you just stated, because her being brave enough, that young woman being brave enough to capture those images right then and there while being confronted by police herself, I mean, it goes beyond words of bravery, making a difference, being involved. Speechless.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, she was only 17 at the time when she did that, when she recorded that video. And of course, she was frightened, didn't know what was going to happen next.
Right.
But she stood there, she stood her ground, and she made a big difference.
Josh, my old radio partner years ago said there are two types of crimes in this world. One, those caught on videotape and those not caught on videotape. And you raised the point a minute ago, how different may this have been if there was no cell phone video of this murder, essentially, and how brave is that young woman? My goodness.
Guys, let's keep the conversation going with Fox's Caroline Shively. She has been on the ground in Minneapolis covering the story really all night since the verdict, and was there yesterday as people celebrated this verdict. Caroline, good morning to you.